All right, thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in into Tech Day Pakistan, and we are in Azure and AI room. And as you have seen, so many speakers sharing their knowledge on Azure and AI stuff's really exciting. AI and everything shaping up with ChatGPT and other stuff. So hopefully we will see creating my own digital twin, my twin, which will maybe roaming around in Milan or somewhere in the world. Let's see what
Is Milan.
Sebastian will be sharing his knowledge. All right, Sebastian, it's over to you now.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Anyway, I will add very few stuffs. So again, my name is Sebastiano Galazzo, and I live in Milan, Italy. I'm the CTO of a company named Synapsia, that of course is an AI-based company, and I'm a Microsoft MVP for AI category. So today we will talk about our main project, or creating the digital version of ourselves to interact with. So, and basically this we will focus a lot on the theory, and what I want to do, as was already said, I want to share my journey, my mistakes, and some tips also in order to speed up your process if you want to do something like that. So, to do that, we should talk first about what were chatbots, but of course, I guess that everybody knows what they are, and so they need no presentation, but it's important to start from some origins in order to understand some choices. So, well, what I selected as a framework for chatbots is Microsoft Lewis. Not just because I'm a Microsoft MVP, because I tried a lot of tools, and I have to say that this is one of the best. And so we want to deal with the best in performances. So if you remember, just 1 hour ago maybe, we were used to create our own chatbot, basically designing a conversation, the entire conversation, uh, every aspect. And this is a key feature of Microsoft Lewis. But we need, before talking about the technology that I used, as I said, first we need to understand very well for people who don't know how much it works. So the differences between the technologies. So basically, an approach like Microsoft Lewis works like a classifier. So you have a bunch of sentences of examples, and you define some categories, and basically what you do is to create a model that tries to understand where that sentence falls, in which category, providing a score that is between 0 and 1, or the accuracy of how much confident I am about that choice. And this is a key point. Please, so pay attention to that detail. So this approach worked until yesterday, and in my opinion has a lot of pro. It's easy to use, has good performances, and you have most of the control of the conversation, and this is still a valuable option. When I say that you have the control of the conversation, and this is another key point, is why basically the answer of your chatbot is statical and is decided by you. So what you do is to match an answer to each intent, to each category. And so in this way, you don't have any problems about the answers so too much. On the other way, one of the main problems of this kind of models are two. One of them, the most important basically, is that they can manage a restricted domain. What I mean? I mean that everything works very, very well when we are, let's say, playing, okay? When we have very few categories. And I don't want to say that you have to manage just 5 categories, 5 intents, but let's say that you have, for example, 100 intents. So a very big project like the one that we want to do. And there are a lot of categories that are borderline cutting the edge. For example, I mean, hobbies against likes. There are several cases when sentences that should fall into hobby maybe falls into likes with an high percentage of confidence of the model. So the most big, the more the model is big, the worse it is. I guess that nobody need a presentation of OpenAI, and of course I will skip that. And but we need to talk about the technology that was introduced, not by OpenAI, because the transformers were not invented by OpenAI. OpenAI just produced a very good model, but not the technology of transformers. That is the key technology that to work with. So the main difference that we need to understand between a technology like transformer-based and Lewis-based technology is that while the second, or Lewis, classifies some things and provide to you a score of confidence, and you can decide if that score is too low to skip or not. In this case, basically the technology is built in order to predict the best next word based on the text that already was created or already was provided as input, like the example before here in the slide. About the cons, no need of explanation, no need of presentation. I'm confident that we can skip this part telling about the conversation capabilities of this kind of technology. And we agree that this is the future, and of course is the key technology that we are also used in our project. Anyway, why we decided to create our own model, our own architecture, and not using ready-made solutions like ChatGPT or GPT-3 or so on. There are some cons. One of them is, for example, that large language models are trained with unsupervised content coming from web pages, producing a lot of biases. That because content are produced by humans, and humans make mistakes, and not always mistakes, because sometimes they want to say what they want, what they are saying. So I mean racist content, misogynist content, religion, and so on. And based on what I said in the slide before, or that this model is specialized to predict the next word, not classifying something, providing you a score of confidence. You don't have the control over the conversation. And that's a key point. That's a key point because YouTube is full of people that they want to play as AI expert, providing a video on ChatGPT, on OpenAI, saying how wonderful it is. And when it does a mistake, basically we smile, okay? We are happy because we feel superior over the technology that is, of course, stupid. But anyway, we are playing. But in a business scenario, there's no way to play. There's no chance to make even one mistake. And so not having the full control could be a pain. And last but not least, the cost. That could be up to 10 times compared, for example, Microsoft Lewis. Yes, it is a news of a few days ago that they dropped the cost down, but anyway, whatever they do, it's a fact that this approach is at least 10 times more expensive than the previous one. That has an impact on the cost of the company. Again, we are not playing, that's business. What it is much more important are money, because again, the best software in the world is useless if it is not sold. Well, I provided some information here in the slide, but just to understand how big these models are, let you imagine that GPT-2 XL doesn't fit an NVIDIA 3090. Okay, and a V100 in the cloud that is less powerful than this GPU cost $2,000 per month. So addressing the cons, an GPT-like technology has some issue, and we want to address that issues. The two main issues that we want to address are biases, and the only way is to use our own dataset. The dataset is everything. We are going to invest a lot of resources in our dataset. We have a team that is dedicated in creating a very good and accurate dataset. So don't believe that the technology is the only way. It's just a small part. Everything comes from the dataset, and I will be never tired to say that. Second one, we try to manage the hardware and cost limitations, basically creating an architecture that uses the paradigm of divide et impera. And now we begin with the theory and sorry, talking about the project itself, or creating our digital twin. Just one slide before starting. Some business cases, of course, the one in the slide. We are going to create our own product that does exactly what is written in the slide. So managing, acting as your secretary, reading, managing email, calendars, and even phone calls, because we are working with very good results in making phone calls, for example, reservation calls, booking calls through AI. And of course, doing smart search engine, a smart local search engine, and why not also the metaverse. Well, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So we do not start from scratch, and we use tools and solution coming from Microsoft, Hugging Face, and GitHub. In fact, what do we have to do, or at least what I did, it was starting from a project that you can find in GitHub. This is the link, is hosted by Hugging Face, and is a very good project to start with. So I suggest you to download it if you want to create if you want to start creating your digital twin. Well, let's put one eye on our dataset, and this is the dataset that was used as a starting point by this project that is named Persona Chat, and this is the structure. So what we do is to leverage the context that is able to use a model like transformers. So as you can see, we have the history field where inside the utterance is basically the dialogue that the dialogue in progress. In candidates, the last one, we have the answer. And here my first mistake, because I thought that all sentences in candidates were wrong in the dataset, because I believed that they were a different way of the answer. Instead, is the opposite. So to help the algorithm to train better, what you do is to say, okay, here there is a list of sentences that are really wrong, except the last one, and that helps much more the algorithm to be trained. But one of the most important aspects is personality, where basically you provide 5-4 sentences that describes you, your personality, your life, and that helps the model to answer to questions inspired by that sentences. So everything works well, except that again, we don't want to play. And so what we have to do is to find a way to increase the number of these sentences, because I guess that you agree with me that 5 sentences aren't enough to describe a person, okay? And you could say, okay, well, it is the problem, we can add 100 sentences, but that can be done because there is an hardware limitation, there is a physical limitation of that kind of models. In this case, you cannot use more than 512 tokens, where a token, to make it easy, is not in that way, but to make it easy, let you imagine 1 token, 1 word. Again, it's not exactly that, but let's assume this amount, okay? So you can understand that you cannot provide a Wikipedia view, okay, each time that you make a query. And anyway, there is a big issue that when you are close to that limit of 512, the performance starts degrading. So you want to be far away of that limit. So we created this architecture. The idea is to have a first level AI that in our context we name Duke. dialogue, utterance, knowledge engine, stuff like that. That has one job, just one, to classify the question that in input based on that category. We select from the database the 5 sentences of that category of me, and then that sentences are used by the model to create the next question. More or less using Microsoft Lewis, that is the scenario, for example, of me. I have the sentences of personal data, the sentences of food, the sentences of hobby. And you here on the left, you can see the Lewis project with all categories. Okay. Before going future, just a quick note on this parameter on the training or personality permutations. Basically, this parameter make rotating the personalities while training, and this is very, very important for training, else basically changes the final behavior. There is not a right choice and a wrong choice. It depends on what you want to do. If you have just one personality, just one character, you can leave one. But if you have more than one, basically the model became more generic and is able much more to learn the approach and then to work even without training. Of course, you spend much more time. It's up to you. So Microsoft Lewis to classify works very, very well, but not always, of course, because in some sentences, like do you have a dog, that is classified, for example, family, it's the most easy. But a lot of dialogues in real life are like that. Do you have a dog? Yes. His name, Alfred. But what could be the classification of yes in Lewis? Or his name? What? It's impossible. So what we did is to use a GPT-2 model, the same that we used for generating the dialogue, and we did some hack, and basically we modified also the data set, and we forced a model that was not created for classification to classify. How? Basically, we deleted the personalities. In fact, as you can see the comparison, personality on the right is empty, and the answer is the category that I was using in Microsoft Lewis. Much more, I also used that approach as language detector because we manage it at the same time English, French, and Italian. And we avoid to pay services for language detection because the model is able to do both tasks at the same time. And that worked very, very well. So I can show you very quickly because we don't have much time. The digital version of me. Here we have almost 100 characters. Okay, and so as you can see, here there is the list, basically my personality about food, about hobby and family and so on. So if I say hi, how can I help you? Let's say something, are you married? something really easy just to show you how it works. As you can see, the answer is inspired by one of sentences that are used for personality. And let's say, what about, sorry, your job? So he created a description of my job based on all information inside the category career. As you can see here, there is a label, okay, for basically is the classification of the dialogue before. Until here, it was family and so on. I want to show you that the same model with another one here. Hi, sorry. Hi, what about your job? As you can see, of course, the answer is completely different compared to the one to mine, and it is the same model, the same, just one AI that is able to manage different virtual profiles of people. Okay, so we have not enough time to show you all conversation capabilities, but as you can see, we are really close to the one that you can find on OpenAI or other solutions. But compared to them, we addressed a lot of biases, because in this way we use the first level AI as a shield to avoid and to manage hot topic. Because, for example, here we have the category sexuality, religion, and politics, and we are able in this way to mix the pro of bot approach, the pro of Microsoft Lewis, that is able to control the conversation, providing you a score. In this way, again, we don't have a score, but we can block some conversation, and I can decide, for example, to don't forward the request to the AI that produces the dialogue, and basically to say, hey man, I don't want to talk about that. That's all. Okay. So just a second. Perfectly. Let's go forward. Let's talk about another feature that was created by our team. I mean, that is not inside the project that I provided. Anyway, we have to say that we modified, of course, internally the project, making it much more modern and improving some stuff. But basically, so far, we didn't much changes. But with the introduction of active conditioning, we hacked that model and we did some modifies. I'm talking about that. Basically, this is the real structure that is passed as input to our model. Or, as you can see, the first lines are the sentences that are used to inspire the conversation or to store the information. And then there is speaker 2, speaker 1, or the previous dialogue. Well, what I did if you open the code, you can find in training, I guess, yes, training.py, there are that entries, and I added a new tag that I created, or the one that is highlighted in yellow, that I named act. This tag basically is a tag for the speaker one, okay, and how it works, providing information, providing instruction to the AI to force the conversation in a specific topic. So I mean, let's say at one point of the conversation, for business reasons, you want, okay guys, great, but now we have to talk about family, we have to talk about your career, because I need that. We will understand after why. And it works because, for example, here the active conditioning is, okay, ask about studies. The model replies to the previous conversation, but suddenly changes the topic of the same conversation. This is a comparison. I don't have too much time to make to allow you to show you in real time. Sorry again. But here the screenshot. So basically on the left we have a normal conversation. In the middle is the same conversation where I deleted one bubble, and in the up where there is active conditioning, you can see ask about studies, and that's the behavior. So again, answer to the previous question, but then what are you studying? Because I asked to force the conversation to talk about studies. Well, maybe I was not able to do that. Maybe it was my mistake. I don't know why, but it's not was not just my fault, because several people tried to do that with OpenAI, but there was no way to do something like that with OpenAI. Basically, because OpenAI is designed to reply at all cost to a dialogue, but not too much in a specific constraints. And that is something really important for the reason that we explained before. Wow, it's really small. I apologize for that. Okay, so okay, but you can see on the right, we created another tool that is named Kobe, that uses the same model that I provided in the previous link, of course modified, trained for a different task. The task is to extract relevant information from the dialogue, enough like RDF semantic triples. For example, here itself place of birth Tokyo, itself lives in Shanghai, based on the dialogue. Maybe now you are asking yourself why you created from scratch a tool like that, based on the fact that there are tons of tools able to extract entities, and they works most well. So basically, because all the tools are designed to extract information from text. And you could say, okay, but the dialogue is a text. No, this is wrong, because if you want to profile a user, we need to profile just the sentences of the user. In this case, for example, that could be odd rows or even rows. In this case, I want to profile just where are you from. I want to profile I'm from the United States, and I want to profile that he lives in Shanghai. So that's not easy to do that normally. And what we did is to force that model using the personality to help us in order in this way. Basically, what we do is to provide all the conversation, because you need to profile just some lines, but to keep the context of all conversation. So in one entry, the history, we used all the conversation, and in personalities, we deleted useless rows. So just the lines that we want to profile, in order to make it much more understandable that the model must extract information from there. Well, we are going to finish, and why we created all that pieces of technology. I mean, active conditioning and active profiling, or profiling the user in real time, because of the business. Again, the best software in the world is useless if it is not sold. So this is a typical scenario where I have a normal conversation with my AI, and if I had to a solution like Microsoft Lewis, what I did is a statistical form, is a statistical dialogue, where I ask question one after another, okay, in a really cold way. And in this case, I can have a conversation with my AI about everything. And in the real time, I extract information about you. So it could happen, for example, that I extract the information just because you provided, and then I don't have to ask. Or if, for example, the business said that I need free information, if he is married, if he has a dog, and when he's born, or the age. If, for example, just an example, free exchanges, we do not talk about family, here that is triggered the active conditioning in real time that says to the AI, okay, force the conversation talking about family. And that is amazing, is a really game changer, is not something that you cannot find elsewhere, unless you today of course, you do by yourself. Then, when all key points are triggered, then we provide you an advertising business proposal, where I say, oh great, let me suggest the best house for you. It's just an example. So what I want to say is that that you don't need always the last solution. You don't need always the last OpenAI version to create a very good project. We used ChatGPT 2, the medium version, okay, that was created, I guess, 3-4 years ago, and is still a valuable option, but is all about how you can combine all modules, modules that you create, of course, because you cannot have a large language model because it's really expensive. We already talked about that, but you can split all tasks, and they could be even much more efficient than some scenarios compared to $1 trillion company. I don't want to say that OpenAI is not good. Of course, they are the boss. They are better than me, and so on. They did an amazing job. That's obviously, but a lot of times in business cases, you don't want to risk, and maybe you don't need all that power, because in a business scenario like that, it's not important to know about the life of Leonardo da Vinci, for example. Okay, but you just need a very good conversation capabilities, able to perform some specific tasks like this one, and using tools like GPT-2 handmade, with your own data set, modifying something could be much more efficient than using the model, the product that was released yesterday. So I finished. I guess that I'm in time. I respected my timeline.
Thank you, Sebastiano.
You're welcome. So
Yeah, there
if
is
you,
one.
for everybody, if they
Yeah, there
want to
is
keep in
one
touch with
question,
me,
Sebastian.
yeah.
There is one question which is like, how is it different, better from Eliza chatbot that came around 1966? Not sure. Like someone is asking a funny question. Have you understand like what they are asking? It says like, how is it different? I'll put it into the chat. Let me just publish it, and if you can just look into the chat and see. Let me just put it into the chat. How is it different, better from Eliza chatbot that came around? Not sure. Someone is
Okay.
asking a funny question or not.
Okay. So I break my sharing, my screen sharing.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.